Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Greater Boston. And we are here for everyone with our live service here as we have our audience here with us, and we are live with you online. So this is really wonderful and exciting. I'd like to start us with a song, and I think this song is such a great song. It has the lyrics and everything, so feel free to sing along. It's a good old Karen Drucker, and it's a great way to start our day.
Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for my friends, Spirit, thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit, thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit, thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit, thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Thank you for my health, Spirit, thank you for my health. Thank you for my health, Spirit, thank you for my health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. Thank you for my life, Spirit, thank you for my life. Thank you for my life, Spirit, thank you for my life. My glorious, my glorious, my glorious life. My glorious, my glorious, my glorious life. Thank you for my wealth, Spirit, thank you for my wealth. Thank you for my wealth, Spirit, thank you for my wealth. My opulent, my opulent, my opulent wealth. My opulent, my opulent, my opulent wealth. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Oh, thank you. Thank you for this day, Spirit. I want to thank you. I want to thank you. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Every day I say thank you for this day.
I believe so. Yeah. All right, everybody. Was that a powerful and awesome way to start our day? This is, again, Center for Spiritual Living Greater Boston. You can find out more about our community by visiting our website. Let me find it here. I know it's here somewhere. Well, there it is. All right. And that is at cslboston.org. That's where you can find out more about our community. You can give to our community. You can do whatever you like to find out more about this philosophy and how it can change and empower your life. So what I would like to do is I would like to go ahead and bring on Rev Ed, if he would be willing to do our statement this morning. It would be our statement of who we are in the world. Actually, I think this one is, let me just pull it up right now. Okay, here it is. Who we are in the world, indeed.
Good morning, everyone. Who we are in the world. We are a safe, welcoming, nurturing spiritual community of light, love, and joy. And now let's personalize it who I am in the world. And if you'd like to say this along with me, you may. I am a
safe,
welcoming, nurturing, spiritual person of light, love, and joy. And you know, Reverend G, when you put out that kind of vibration and that kind of energy, that's what you will attract back into your life, so that you will be living whole and in harmony and in balance.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and pray us in so that we can set our tone for this morning's service. So let's all just join together. Let's use the wonderful singing bowl to bring us into center. Feeling the resonation of the bowl and letting it guide you within, to that inner space, to that inner divine presence. I recognize and I realize right here and right now that there is only one infinite source, one absolute reality, one perfect whole and complete perfect idea that I call the Mother, Father, God. It answers to so many names, but it is all one power and all one presence that is acting in many different ways in many different arenas, and yet is the same power behind all that is seen and unseen. It is giving of itself all love and peace and joy and perfection and wholeness and completeness and attraction and all of the good things that it is. It is constantly drawing to itself all of the wonders of the world and giving out those wonders back to the world. And so I am grateful as I realize and I recognize that I am one of those wonders in the world that is being expressed by this divine presence. And as I know this about myself, I know this about Rev Ed, I know this about everyone who comes here to this community. I know this about all who are joining us online and all who are currently maybe not able to be with us, but I know that this same power in presence is flowing through all, the known and the unknown, in all ways. That's what it does. And so in gratitude and thanksgiving for the good that is absolutely alive and awake and aware right here and right now, I let this truth reveal itself into form through this service. I know that it is expressing itself in the music, in the camaraderie, in the connection, and in the communication that is taking place. For that is its natural and wondrous and glorious gift to all. And so in gratitude and thanksgiving for this good, I let it be. I know it is so. I let the law do its perfect work, and together we say, and so it is. Beautiful. So I believe we have our what we believe statements.
So I'll read that, Rev G. We believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God, and that we are surrounded by this creative mind, which receives the direct impress of our thought and acts upon it. So right there, Rev G, that shows the importance of how we think and what we think.
Yes, absolutely.
The law is always acting upon it.
Always.
So that's where we weed our garden. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
So did you want to do that in our I statement form?
I would love to. I believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God. And that I am surrounded by this creative mind. Which receives the direct impress of my thoughts and acts upon it.
Yes.
Yes.
Beautiful. All right. So let me get that off the screen. We need to get back to who we are and where we are. Hello, everybody.
Well,
so I have some music for us this morning, another wonderful song, an Eddie Watkins Jr. It doesn't have any lyrics, but we are definitely, I think many of us know this one. So if you know this one, you sing along with it, because it is one of those ones that you can definitely do like a call and response with. So let this song lift you up, because I love this song. It just really rattles rattles things to the core. So let me just turn that on for us here.
Oh yeah. Come on. All right. All right. Yeah. Oh yeah. One life living is you and me. Yeah. One light shining is you and me. Yeah. One love loving is you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. All right. One life living is you and me. Yeah. One light shining as you and me. Oh. One love loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. I'm shining from the inside out. I'm so happy. I just want to shout. One life living is you and me. Yeah. One light shining as you and me. Oh. One love loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. One life living as you and me. Yeah. One light shining as you and me. One love loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. I'm shining from the inside out. I'm so happy. I just want to shout. One life living as you and me. Yeah. One light shining as you and me. One love loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. One life living as you and me. Yeah. One light shining as you and me. One love loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. One life, one life, one life, one love. One life, one life, one life, one love. One love, one life, one life, one love. All right. Oh. One life, one life, one life, one love. One life, one life, one life, one love. One love, one life, one life, one love.
Break it down.
Yeah.
One light, one life, one love. God is all there is.
All it is. Keep on shining from the inside out. I'm so happy. I just wanna shout. One life living as you and me. Living as you and me. Shining as you and me. Shining as you and me. Loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all. God is all. One life living as you and me. Living as you and me. You and me. Shining as you and me. God is all.
Wonderful. Just love how that guy goes. He is so cool. So this morning I have a reading for us. And this reading I think really ties in beautifully to what it is that we are here to do this morning, or what we're to talk about this morning. So it says, abiding in the one. And this comes from the teachings of Jesus in the Science of Mind. Abiding in the one, John 15, verse 7. If ye abide in me, and my words abide in you, ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you. It is impossible for humanity to literally abide in the man Jesus, so we must look for a figurative meaning in these words. He is speaking of the spirit of his teachings, and the whole spirit of his teachings is to the effect that humanity is an individualized center of God consciousness. The spirit of humanity is the spirit of God, for God is one. When we abide in the one, we cannot ask amiss, but must ask for that which is right and good. Consequently, our prayers to the one will be answered. But let us remember that prayer is answered according to law, and this law is one of liberty and never one of license. True liberty comes only through true harmony only through true unity, and true unity can come only through the conscious realization that we are one with God or good. Jesus implies a power which can and will work for those who harmonize with and believe in it. But we must first abide in the spirit of truth. And what is the spirit of truth other than we live in conscious unity with good and do harm to no one? Goodness is natural, while evil is abnormal. To trust in the law of good is to constantly believe that we are surrounded by a power which can and will cast all fear from our minds, free us from all bondage, and set us safe and satisfied in a new order of living. So it is. All right. So this morning we are going to have a sacred conversation. I would like to first start with our normal things that we talk about around here, and that is that we, of course, begin by talking about that we are following CSL's annual theme, which is timeless wisdom and evolutionary vision. And I have to say, 2021 has really been a lot of those things. It has unfolded quite amazingly. And we have a new August theme, and our new August theme is a pause for guidance. So we're going to be talking in all of August, we're going to be talking about a pause for guidance. And today, we're talking about a time for a tune-up. So I'd like to actually start, before we get into our conversation, with a quote from Ernest Holmes. You are to find the roots of your life in pure spirit. Lose your sense of being separated from your good, and you will find that you are united with it. So what does that mean to you, Rev Ed?
So what that means to me is that it reminds me how it's necessary to always be connected to spirit, to have the consciousness of that connection. Because when we're in connection and we're in alignment with the divine, that's when we really become whole. You know?
That is so true. That is absolutely true.
And when that happens, Rev G, when we become whole, that's when our journey here in life, our time here in this vibration becomes balanced, becomes in harmony with with all of the areas in our life, spiritually, in our relationships, in time, in our health, and all the experiences that we are blessed to experience living here on earth.
Exactly. You know, that's so true. That is so true. When we live like that, you know, so this month of August, we're going to invite everyone to, you know, pause for guidance, for rest, for rejuvenation. Let's prepare ourselves for the next leg of our new journey, the rest of this year, the rest of us moving through the rest of this year and what it will bring for us as a community and for the greater community of CSL and all the different pieces. So I know it's going to be quite an awesome month. Now, I think the important thing for us to do as we rest and we rejuvenate is to maybe align ourselves with our life values, or at least take a look at our life values. Would you agree with that, Rev Ed?
Most definitely. And when it's all in sync, and you know, really when all of that is in sync, that's when our journey is really whole, as I mentioned. So it's just doing your daily spiritual practices. Would you agree with this, Rev G? Daily, regularly, so that you can always be in alignment. Now, grant you, and we can talk through experience here, that the pull of the human everyday existence can at times take us away from that.
You make the screen bigger.
Yes, would you agree?
Yes, I would definitely agree with you. So we were just asked if we could make a screen bigger. I'm going to see what I can do here, because I also have to be able to get to my slides, but I can do that right here for now. I can do that. How's that? Better. This is for our live audience, so we want to make sure that our live audience is seeing what they need to see as well. So, so as we talk about that, you know, if we take the time to get ourselves aligned, and we do that alignment daily, right? Because that's what we need to do with our spiritual practices, then that allows us to take a better look at our personal values of spirituality, of relationships, of time and health. And I'm sure there's many other things we can include in that.
Yeah, every aspect of your life, every area of your life.
Right.
Personal, business, your college, everything. It's the whole watermelon, so to speak.
Right.
You know? And what I am called to bring up is at times when we are not in alignment with our values, when we are not being authentic in relation to how we are living for what we desire, and not having, let's say, being in that alignment, sometimes the body is a very good way of bringing that to your attention, what the body does. And unfortunately, in one way, but fortunately in another, some of us, and I've gone through this, our body encounters a dis-ease. And then you are forced to really stop and pause and rejuvenate, etc. And, you know, take that time to go within. So, you know, what happened to me? I guess I was out of alignment in some way, which I know because of the work I did after, but my body had the appearance of having that experience of cancer, and that happened twice. So that, through my choice, was the flag that really put me back in tune with my values and why I was here. And that's when I came up with my mantra. If you remember correctly, I believe, during those 2 times, and, you know, working on it. And as many of you know, like Rev G, what is my mantra? It spells life. And I am living this 100%. My life must be light, interested, fun, and easy. And I have to say, and this might sound harsh in some ways, but anything that is not like that, Rev G, I do not want in my experience. And I will stay away from anything that is not light, interested, fun, and easy. And I, as well as everyone else in this life, has that birthright. We have that right to have that in our life.
Yes. And I like how you say, interested rather than interesting, because if we say interesting, the universe tends to show up, and interesting can sometimes be a little unwieldy because it just opens up, you can call it a can of worms spiritually, that you could end up with really some things you really don't necessarily, you know, interesting. It can be very interesting, if you understand what I mean by that. So, you know, so that's a really important thing. You know, that brings me to our values, you know, our declaration of principles. You know, we shared the one for it's the number 8 that we share for August, and we'll be sharing that throughout August. But there's this one, and I love this because I want to tie them together. Okay. Because this is the one where, like, we believe that the kingdom of heaven is within us, and that we experience this kingdom to the degree that we become conscious of it. That's what our spiritual practices are doing. They're making us conscious of the kingdom of heaven, right?
That's the key.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we go on in our spiritual principles document, and I love this. So these are our spiritual principles, and this explains heaven, and I love this.
Yeah.
Heaven is the state of awareness of our true nature. We experience our true nature to the degree we become conscious of it. We actively seek to know the true nature of every individual and celebrate each individual's unique expression of it. This experience of our true nature is sure to be attained by all. And I love that.
Yes.
Because it's realizing, and when we say true nature, that's capital T and capital N. So it's our true nature. It's the divine nature of who we are as beings in this life experience.
And as everyone shows up living their true nature, how they uniquely express it, we as humanity, for its best vibration, must respect it all.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you on that.
And that will make a world that works for everybody.
Right. And respect is important. We have to really use that as our guiding principle many times, because it's so easy to fall into just accepting. And I love that Ernest Holmes wasn't too thrilled by the term accept. He preferred respect, because we respect where people are on their path, everyone, no matter where they are. So it's very important. Now, Ernest Holmes also says this: your mind is an outlet through which the creative intelligence of the universe seeks fulfillment. That could be an awesome duty when you think about it. That's like, doesn't that put a lot of weight on our shoulders in some ways?
Well, doesn't it make us responsible?
Yes, indeed, it does.
Some people, and this is not a judgment, it's just the way life is, I believe. Some people can take in that responsibility and be okay with it. And at times there are people that run from it and who don't want to be responsible, that's where the judgment and pointing the fingers at everyone else comes into play, I think. Would you agree on that? Or?
No, I agree with you. Because if we're busy pointing the finger, what happens when we point the finger?
Yeah.
There's three more pointing back at you. Exactly.
But again, it's taking the situation and putting it on someone else.
Right.
And
which we see a lot of in the world right now. Would you agree?
Oh, most definitely.
We see a lot of that in the world. We're blaming other people for our own things that we need to work on, and it's because we're not taught that.
Yeah.
We're not taught that in our day-to-day life. I didn't learn that in school. Did you learn that in school, Barbara? No. It was here that I learned that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of heavy, but it's lighter when we realize that we don't have to take so much responsibility, other than we have to take responsibility for ourselves. I don't have to take responsibility for you or anyone else.
Right.
I have to take responsibility for me.
But
that's where I have to do my work.
Yes. And Reverend G, I believe that this whole experience here is a time for us to play in the school of life and to grow as we're playing in this school of life. And in order to grow in any area, on any level, we really must do regular spiritual practices. That's the bottom line. So yes, it takes time well spent, because each one is worth that time so that they can live that whole experience here in life. So regular tune-up. So it's just like when we tune up our cars, what does it do? It makes our engine start easier. It's easier to start. It improves fuel economy. There's lower emissions, etc. It restores your pep and power of the car, and it improves the engine's performance. Would you agree?
Yes, so, absolutely.
My question would be, wouldn't you like to start your day more easily, improve how much energy you feel, and lower the negative experiences in your life? I mean, and wouldn't you like to restore that power and oomph in your life, in your performance? So, it makes sense. We take care of our cars.
Well,
let's take care of our lives. Let's take
Right.
care of our consciousness. Let's take care of the garden of our thoughts. It's like when you go to a chiropractor for an adjustment, what does it do? It tunes up and aligns your spine. Am I correct?
Right, which aligns your body and brings about less pain and pressure and things like that. It's interesting you say that because, as you know, we last week on Sunday, we had our workshop Sunday, which we have at the end of each month. And one of the things that we gave in that workshop was a spiritual practice that I would love to know how many people actually did that.
I did.
Yeah.
And I intended to do it more, but I stopped. So that's what happens sometimes. You do it.
You start, absolutely. So Barbara was just sharing that, that she started the process. She started doing that, and then she fell off of it. And we do that. We do that all the time with our spiritual practices. But when we get back to them, and the whole thing is to get back to your spiritual practice without beating yourself up, without judging yourself. Because so often we judge ourselves, and then when we judge ourselves, it actually makes it worse because we tend to pull farther away from what we want to do in our lives. Right?
Yes.
So we really want to experience more. Ernest Holmes says this in this thing called You. He says, you are to find the roots of your life in pure spirit. Loose your sense of being separated from your good, and you will find that you are united with it. So if I can let go of that limited idea of that I'm separated from something, and I can bring myself to realize, no, I'm never separated from it. I have an appearance that shows up in my life, but I'm never truly separated from the good that is the divine that wants to express itself.
Right. You're out of alignment with that flow of
Absolutely.
Good. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
But it's always there. So that's something we must remember. Look at what we miss when we're not in alignment, because the divine is always pouring in the good to us. And when we're not in alignment, we're not conscious of the power of the divine. This is my own personal feeling. I'm not conscious of the power of the divine and all it does daily, giving me those gifts because it's my birthright, because I'm one of those gifts.
Right.
Part of the whole. So we really lose out. It's like when you don't take your car for that tune-up, what happens? It starts falling apart.
It's true. It's true.
Right.
It breaks down on you somewhere, which is horrible, and especially here in the Boston area. You don't want to break down anywhere in the Boston area. You want to be able to get to your destination, because there's some places you can't even pull over in Boston, So it is important to keep our selves tuned, to keep our vehicles tuned, to keep all of the things tuned up around us. Now, there's something in this that, to me, like the word humble comes up to me. We need to really think about, if we want to truly improve our lives, a lot of times it comes through being humble. What is it? The meek shall inherit the earth, and it's like, it's that same idea. It's like when we can get our bloated nothingness out of the way, as Emerson loves to say, right? We get our bloated nothingness out of the way. Spirit can come in and bring in so much more. So humbling ourselves, letting ourselves be humble and not be egotistical and in people's faces and thinking I'm more than someone else. There's people in the world like that, aren't there? They're in leadership. Interesting. But it's through that humbleness that people are invited in to share more with you. Would you agree with that?
Yes. And when I think of humble and all of this, it goes back to what I said, I think, earlier. I'm going to try to connect this. We're playing in the playground in the school of life, and it's always a learning experience if we are in that conscious state of being, of learning from all of the experiences. So in order to grow, you have to learn. I believe. Okay. Now, in order to learn, one must be teachable. Okay. You have to be open to it. And to be teachable, that's where the humbleness comes in. You must be humble. So really, being humble is being teachable. Like you said, getting the ego out of the way. Being receptive.
How about this?
Oh.
How about this, Rev Ed? I love this. Happiness is always on the other side of being teachable.
Yes.
That comes from Sharon Adler. I just think that says exactly what you were just talking about. Is if I want my true happiness, I've got to be teachable. I've got to be open. If I am humble, I am in a place of being teachable.
Yes. Yes. You know, through many of the classes that we teach, you know, we hear different comments, etc. And you know, sometimes let's be upfront. We're kind of shocked, not in judgment, but shocked that some people think they've learned it all. Like, you know, I'm going, oh my God. I mean, I personally know I'm never going to learn it all. I'm going to learn as I go along. I even believe in my transition. It'll be a learning, wonderful experience. Not that I'm looking for it at any time, but I realize I'm always going to learn. I'm always going to be teachable. Yes. And I'm open to that. But, you know, in reality, there are some people who think, like, you know, there's nothing more to learn, and there's so much more to learn.
There's always something to learn. I'm always learning. Aren't you always learning?
Yeah.
We're always learning. There's always something for us to learn.
And I think when we stop learning, that's when we start aging. See, I'm vintaging. I get better like wine. I'm not aging because I'm always learning. And damn it, some of the things I learn and some of the things that are brought to my attention with the wonderful 2x4 that I hit myself on the head with, sometimes it's not easy to take, but you know what? I learn from it.
Yes.
And if you can learn from it, then, you know, that little pain, that little sweat or inconvenience, it's a gift.
It is. It is.
Like
and you know, Meister, yes. But Meister Eckhart says this: be willing to be a beginner every single morning. Isn't that is so true? We really need to think on that level. I am willing to be a beginner every single morning. I don't know what that day is going to bring, but I need to be willing to be open to receive, to be learning and be teachable. I mean, you know, what is it Ernest Holmes said about our teaching? You know, we are a teaching order.
Yes.
You know, and I like to say we're a teaching and practicing order. So we teach, but if we don't practice it, what happens?
Yeah.
As we are evolving. I love that. Barbara just said, as we are evolving. I love that.
And some of the lessons, I want to bring this out because through my own personal experiences, some of what I need to learn from any particular situation might not come right away. And that sometimes is very unnerving.
Right.
That can put one in a place of becoming numb, so to speak. You've heard me say that word not too long ago, Rev G.
Right.
You know, what am I, you know, I want to learn from all of the situations from my life so that I can show up better and be a better person, not only for me, but for everyone else around me. Right. But at times it becomes challenging because that lesson isn't right up front. So I'd say my call to everyone would be patient. It is there. It will show itself when it's the best time for the individual. That's not easy to take when you're in it. That's what I want to bring out.
I would agree with you completely. You know, I want to go back to, you know, what I said about these things that are appearing in the world, because Darlene came up with something really wonderful. I want to show it to everyone. Thank you, Darlene, for this. It's so wonderful. So she said, we are now seeing in the world, what we are now seeing in the world is a collective unconscious struggling with false truths. As we honor that challenge and return back love and respect, we grow in our own consciousness and effectively contribute to a shift in the collective consciousness, the butterfly effect. Thank you, Darlene. That is just so powerful.
Yes.
I love what she said there. Absolutely.
And you know, Rev G, it's our responsibility to humanity.
Yes.
To keep learning so that we can add to humanity the positive vibes from all of the lessons. So if everyone comes from what they are learning as they go along in their journey, it's only going to not only strengthen them, but it strengthens humanity. And that's one of our obligations being here on this planet. It's like when we take care of our planet. That's a responsibility. We're visitors here. We're visitors here.
The last thing that I want to talk about too is that, we need to release the things we don't want in our life. And that was a part of what our workshop last week was about, was finding out what it is that we are living by and getting rid of it and saying, this is what I want. So creating a whole new statement of this is what I want in my life. And it's so important for us to do that. And when we release something, I always love a ritual. You know what comes to mind when I think of releasing? I think of the ritual that we did for you when you were releasing the cancer.
You may share
and we
that.
We did the burning bowl. We took you did all of these. You wrote all of these letters of apology to all of these people to to make amends, as it were. Which is interesting because that's the 12-step thing as well. But so you did all of these things, and then we took all of those things and we burnt them in the fireplace. So we had a burning ritual where we burnt the things that we don't want.
And that was 2 days before the first operation of having the cancer being taken, that part of my body out. And here's the thing, when you mentioned, Rev G, about that, the time it took me before that ritual. As you know, writing those letters didn't happen in one afternoon. It was weeks and months of time that I spent in deep spiritual practice. And I believe to this day, that is why I am cancer-free, is the work that I did. And along with my 12 disciples, and they know who they are, etc., the praying and the practices that we did, and individually and collectively, that is why I am still here today. I know that for a fact, but it takes time. But you know what? We're worth that time. Each individual is worth that time.
We are worth that time. And that's the thing to realize. We are always worth the time it takes to grow in consciousness.
And and can't we always come up with, I could speak this from my past, excuses not to do it. Well, I'm too busy, or this and that. Well, you know what? When you're faced with, let's face it, our life, it puts a different twist on it. You make the time.
Right.
Am I correct? The hours that I would spend daily on spiritual practices, some might have thought it was overdone, but you know what? No, it wasn't, because it did what it needed to do.
Yes.
So I need to bring that out to people, because yes, it takes time, but man, each one of you is always worth that time.
It is worth every minute I spend on my spiritual practice, because it just brings me to center.
And doesn't that also
alignment with the beauty and the love and the light and the truth of what's really there, but it's maybe invisible to me in that moment, because we get wrapped up in the garbage. I want to share this last quote because I think this is really wonderful. Our troubles begin the moment our teachers believe they know it all, and our learners think they are not teachable. Does that not smack of truth in the world sometimes? Because as a teacher, I'm always learning. I love teaching the classes, because when I teach the classes, I grow.
Yes.
Not only because as I watch everyone in the class grow, I grow. And that's what the power of our teaching is that we have education that allows us to grow consciously.
And we're all teachers on some level and in regarding to every situation. It's like when I, for 33 years, was a professional school teacher, let's call it that, as my passion. I learned from my students every day, be it a fourth grader, a kindergartner, a middle school kid, because
Right.
I was teachable as I was teaching too. That's important. So we
Right.
learn from the people around us.
Yes. Yes.
But you have to be open to it.
And that's the difficult ones and the easy ones. I mean, they're all there to teach us something.
Yeah.
And we have to be open to teach. That's where being humble and being
Yes.
teachable comes in, especially when the ones who really rattle our cages come around, because they're there to teach us something. And I want to learn what they have to teach me.
Yeah, I've got to share this quick story. I'll make it very quick. But
yes,
you know, even the difficult ones, when we can see the light, the divinity in people, boy, it really changes the whole situation. I remember when I was supervising at group homes in LA, that was one of my second jobs. There was this, and there was this a conglomerate of group homes that I would go and supervise and teach in the group home. There was this little girl. She was like 5 years old. Rev G, she was a little terror. She would run down the corridors and scream and kick the doors. She was so hurt from what her parents did to her. And I said, oh my God, when I first met her, this was years ago, oh, I don't want to go near her. Like, she's so volatile and so challenging. Do you know, the end of my time there, I wanted to adopt this little girl because I looked and I forced myself, I want to see her light. And I did. And a little girl that I was like kind of like afraid of in a way because she was so volatile, I wanted to adopt her. I really felt, I loved this little girl so much because I looked for the divinity in her and I saw a shining little bright being in that case of the anger that she would show. So I just had to bring that out. So when we look for the divinity in the ones that challenge us, it changes the tune.
Oh, it does. It does. You know, it reminds me of years ago, I was teaching mime and I had a mime class and I had several young kids in the class. And one of the kids was extremely mean to another one of the kids. And the other kid was very kind of soft and effeminate. And the other one was very kind of, you know, masculine and he-manish. And what I found is that when I took that moment to actually see them all in the light of love, and when I decided to have a conversation with the one who didn't have patience for the one who was very effeminate acting, I had a very adult conversation with this little kid, and he shifted in consciousness. It was so amazing to watch. But I spoke to him as an adult. I spoke to him as, how would it feel if you behaved in the way this person behaved and got all of this negative energy pushed on you? How would it feel to you? And his eyes lit up, and he saw who he was being, and he changed, and it changed both of them, because I went and spoke with the other one as well and said the same thing. You know, I understand you feel persecuted, but maybe you need to look at how you are showing up in the world and see how you can make yourself more lovable, you know, because that's what happens. Sometimes we act certain ways because we don't feel lovable. And both of these kids shifted just with that conversation and not speaking to them as kids, not speaking down to them, but speaking on their level where they could hear it.
You met them where they were.
I met them where they were. Exactly.
And
exactly.
Yeah. So it kind of brings me to the call for action this week. Can we go there or?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, that's what I was ready to go to was, you know, what our call to action is. So what would you say our call to action for everyone this week is?
Just like automobiles, need a tune-up. So don't we need a tune-up. We need to take that time regularly, on a regular basis, to have our spiritual tune-up. So I invite people to take this week to reevaluate their life, get support with a prayer partner, with a practitioner, sign up for classes, and be willing to be humble and teachable. And most of all, lose those things that don't look good to you. Things
That don't
subject
work
like
for
judgment.
you.
Judgment isn't flattering on anybody. Stop being that which you want to experience more of in the world. And I think
Yes.
that's a real great call to action. And would you all be ready to have within yourselves to do this? There's the
I hope
question.
everybody does.
I do.
Are you ready to do that?
I hope so.
I got a thumbs up here. So, and I don't see anything in our comments, but I am sure that all those who are listening are ready to really step forward into this new way of being, and remember to rest and rejuvenate as well in this process.
During the processes, Rev G, always, whenever we do work on ourselves, always be gentle with yourself, never judge yourself, praise and uplift yourself for giving yourself the time, because you're realizing your self-worth. And this all has to do with also realizing our self-worth. And for many of us in the past, our self-worth wasn't all that high. I'm speaking personally about that. And that's a whole change in my life. But really, you know, man, we're all worth the time. Yes. So that's a great call to action, I would think.
So Rev Ed, would you like to pray everyone into that call for action?
Yes, and being aligned with their truth. Yes. So coming from that purpose, fully knowing and fully realizing that the one infinite energy, the only energy that exists, the energy that created all, and is in, through, and as each experience is good, is supportive, is loving, is nurturing, shows up as abundance, shows up as prosperity, shows up as wisdom. This is the energy that each and every individual is created from and is an expression of. And being one with this energy, the individual connects with each other, with nature, and all of humanity, and strengthens humanity and the individual self all at the same time. And knowing this, it brings about a wholeness for each individual. It brings about joy and harmony and peace in their life, a balance in their life in all areas, spiritually, in relationships, in all kinds of relationships, in their time and in their health. This is what that connection does. And I know and speak the word right here and right now that when each time one aligns themselves with the truth of their being, with the divine, knowing whose and whose they are, that the experiences of life become whole, that the experiences of life is based in balance and joy and harmony. And life is good, and the experiences that show up because of this connection and this alignment is magnificent and magical. I see people walking around with smiles and confidence and strength, and people coming from their self-worth in high esteem, knowing that their presence on this vibration called Earth, that they make a difference for everyone, including themselves. It is a responsibility. And I am so grateful that I see this truth. I am so grateful that I see these expressions. I am so grateful for each and every expression of the divine as it shows up, living the principles, living the truth, and living the mantras of their choice. So in full gratitude, in full respect, in full love, I release this to the Lord, knowing that this is done in the mind of God. Therefore, this is done for each individual right here and right now. And please join me, if you would, by saying together and rooting this prayer in truth with the 3 words, and so it is, the 4 words. And so it is.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Rev Ed. That was absolutely wonderful. So now is the time in our service where we look at and we share our gifts. And I just want to put that slide up here so that we can all say this together as we affirm our giving statement, which I think is just such a beautiful statement. Sharing our gifts. It is the nature of life to give of itself, as it is the tree's nature to bear fruit and the flower's nature to bloom. It is my nature to share the gifts of my time, talent, and treasure. I participate in the divine flow of life, giving generously and receiving abundantly. I am blessed, and I am a blessing. I am grateful.
And so it is.
And so it is. And for those who are watching from home, we welcome your gifts. And you can do that by texting GIVE and the amount to 833-581-0669, or type in your browser paypal.me/CSL Greater Boston. Or if you're in CSL, or if you're in PayPal, you can look for us through info@cslboston.org, or go to the website and click the donate button, which is now working. And I am so grateful to Chris for his helping me to make that work again. So we have so many good things happening here in our community, and I'm so grateful. We have no announcements this morning, but I'm sure we will be having some announcements because I know we're going to have a workshop at the end of the month, but I have to find out who's doing that workshop. So we will be finding that out. So
it's only the beginning of the month, Rev G.
It's only the beginning of the month. That
Another
is
beautiful month.
Correct.
Yes.
That is correct. And so I just want to welcome our online community. We would love to see you join us in fellowship. And let me put that up on the screen so that people know where they can go to do that. You can screenshot it if you need that. Or if you look in your newsletter, you'll find it there as well. But you can join us for fellowship in Zoom. You can find the link in Facebook following the service or in the newsletter, as I said before. And the meeting ID is 990-6825-1729 with a passcode of 014254. So we look forward to seeing you in fellowship. And we wish you all a beautiful and blessed day.
Yes.
And what do we always say at the end? We say, Namaste.
Thank you, Rev G. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.